Welcome to the What Is She Even Reading podcast.
I'm Claire, and I love to read.
I'm Jeremy, and I don't.
Join us each week as we read through some of today's most popular books as Jeremy discovers what is she even reading. Hello, and welcome back to the What Is She Even Reading podcast. I'm Claire.
I'm Jeremy.
And today we are talking about A Court of Mist and Fury. I'm so excited. This is my favorite book of the series.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's my favorite one. I'm so excited to reread it. It's been a blast so far.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're talking about chapters 1 through 15. And just a friendly reminder that there will be spoilers for all of ACOTAR, or A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book, and now up to chapter 15 in this book. So, if you haven't read, you've been warned. Come back. Shall we get into it?
Sure.
Okay. So, the book ended with Tamlin and... ACOTAR ended with Tamlin and Feyre basically walking off into the sunset.
And she was like, let's go home.
Yeah, they were going back to the Spring Court.
Yeah.
So it opens with a prequel where she is basically back under the mountain. She's in a terrible dream. And the line that I noted from this prequel was, I was the butcher of innocence and the savior of a land. What a line. What a person to be.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get anything from the prequel little bonus chapter?
I noticed that she plunged the ash dagger into her own heart.
Yeah, because I think she, like, when they ripped, because it was when she was stabbing the fairies, when they ripped the whatever off of the third one, or the second one, it was her.
Yeah.
She was staring at herself, which was kind of weird. But anyways, chapter 1, it's been 3 months. But my first note is they have toilets. So what do you think, like, what is this world? They don't have electricity, I don't think, but they have flushing toilets.
I mean, flushing toilets have been around a long time.
Since when?
A long time. You don't need electricity for it.
Yeah,
And
but
they
like
have magic.
Flush. Yes.
No, but I mean, flushing toilets, you don't need electricity.
I understand that, but that's an advanced technology. You don't.
I mean, toilets in general, maybe they don't, does it say they flush?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well then, I mean, it could be magic that they have indoor plumbing.
Am I overthinking it? You're not invested in the level of technology they have? No.
I mean, not really. Again, I think flushing toilets have been around a good while, but perhaps, I mean, this is a nondescript, non-specific time frame, so they can do what they want, right?
Yeah, but I think it takes you, I don't know, I guess I'm imagining like a pail versus a toilet, but okay, anyways, maybe that's just me being all concerned by that. It's been 3 months since they got back from under the mountain, and she's trying to adjust to her immortal body. So
I noted that once again she didn't quite do it this time, but curled her hands into fists and almost punctured her skin again.
yeah.
Like, calm down.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Trim your nails. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, basically she's super strong. And she keeps breaking things.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny.
Oh, it is. Alice is grumpy.
Yeah, because she broke like a really old vase,
An 800-year-old vase.
And she has not heard from Rhysand in the 3 months that she's been gone, which is kind of surprising. Right?
He's waiting for his time.
I guess so. And she notes that the tattoo, the eye on her palm, it like adjusts to the light as any other eye would. So
Well, of course, it's a magic.
I mean, we know
tattoo.
now that he's listening and watching.
Yes.
But do you think he's listening through that eye, or just the bond?
I don't know. Maybe he can see through the eye.
Yeah. You
Or
think
if she does anything with that hand.
So, and then she's having terrible nightmares, and Tamlin does not get up with her. Which, how do you feel about that as a man? Because I have my thoughts.
I mean, I think he should get up. Now, maybe this is going to be a typical man, but I could see sometimes not getting up, particularly if it's an everyday thing and you know she's okay.
But she's not okay.
I guess that's true.
She's literally puking her guts up from a nightmare.
Okay, so he should be getting up with her. That would be the nice thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're ever okay just puking.
I guess so.
He should... He never
seems to at least act concerned.
He never woke up. He pretends like he's asleep, which is kind of stupid considering.
Oh, there she goes again, vomiting, barfing.
Yeah, almost like you're disturbing my sleep. Really, the gist of these 15 chapters is they need some therapy and they need to talk about their feelings together. Mm-hmm. Because he's pretending like everything's okay, but he's not okay. And she is not really pretending that everything's okay, but he's not listening to her. And yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's kind of a tool for not at least holding her hair. A very basic thing that all girls require when you throw up. So, anyways. Do you have any more notes from chapter 1?
No, not really.
Okay. The gist is, it's been 3 months. She hasn't heard from Rhysand. And she...
has terrible nightmares that make her vomit every day.
So, chapter 2 opens with... she wants to go with Tamlin and Lucian to...
hunt down the beasts.
Yeah, and like to the villages, but they won't let her go because it's too dangerous. So... You're the first note.
Well, she's got a golden ring on her finger.
Well, they're still hunting down
But that's what I just said.
You didn't say Amaranthus beasts.
Oh, well, it was implied. The beasts they're hunting are Amaranthus beasts. Okay. They've scattered across the lands, presumably, and they're going to hunt them.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, and they're
she
engaged.
Wants to go, and they are now engaged.
She has a golden ring with a square-cut emerald glittering atop it.
Because he didn't get the memo that you're supposed to use a diamond.
Maybe they don't use diamonds in the fairy world.
I suppose.
Basically, a lot of these chapters, she's sad. She's just kind of going through the motions of it. They celebrated a winter holiday.
Yep.
But it's springtime, so she basically was like, it was kind of stupid to celebrate a winter holiday, which I think was Christmas, but
yes,
or their version of Christmas. And then there's only 2 weeks left before they get married, so that was quick. You know?
Yeah.
Less than a 3-month engagement, basically.
Yeah.
And they've only known each other for like a year.
They have eternity.
Yes. So like, what's the rush?
Yeah.
But I think he's rushing because of what happened?
I guess.
I don't know.
I noted that they have wards that are up. And some of the beasts slipped in before the wards were repaired. And I've noted, and this is a spoiler, sort of, for Fourth Wing. That book somewhat seems like a ripoff of these books. There's wards in that book. There's wards in this book. There's mental bonds. We'll get to it in a minute. The mental shields.
Yeah.
And, like, it's very descriptive, like, your mind being a place that you are and can walk around. It's very similar.
Yes.
There's a handsome fella who deals with the shadows.
That's pretty typical. I don't know. I just think I'm trying to remember other fantasy
An overprotective
books that
first
I've
boy.
read. Yeah, that's the trope of quote enemies to lovers
I guess so.
type thing. You're not supposed to love the man with the dark-haired bad boy, essentially.
I guess so.
But I'm trying to remember if there's other books that I've read that have wards and like mental bonds, mental mind-to-mind stuff. I don't remember off the top of my head just because I haven't read a bunch of those in a while, except for Fourth Wing and these. So I'm like, do they? Like, obviously...
Now, perhaps this is me drawing connections that aren't there.
I mean, I'm just trying to remember if it's a common theme or if it's... I won't say a ripoff, but it's just maybe it's just a common theme of fantasy novels. I do think that... Who do you think did it better so far?
Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a direct ripoff. We'll get to other things later on reading through these things. There are other things that felt very, like certain names that have come up that are in both Fourth Wing and some of her other novels. But, yeah, I don't know. It could just be a common fantasy thing. I'll have to go back and, like, remember some of the other ones, like the Blood and Ash novels. I don't remember. Anyways.
Yep. Anyways, Tamlin is trying to get her to paint again. Mm-hmm. He's buying her painting supplies. But then she says, I stopped cataloging color and feeling and texture, and I could barely look at the paintings hanging inside the manors. She's pretty dramatic. I think painting would give her a good outlet for her feelings.
But I think she just feels like she's not herself. You know what I mean? She doesn't find joy in it anymore.
I guess so.
She's not that old. She's not her old self.
I guess so.
I think she's just really messed up.
Yeah.
And she needs some therapy, to be quite honest. You know?
I mean, I would imagine therapists don't exist.
I know, but like in a modern day, like that's how messed up. Like she's got some post-traumatic stress with the red color constantly freaking her out. I mean, you have to admit. Yeah. The red paint, the red from Lucian's hair, she was insistent there was no red roses, like everything.
She needs, you know what she needs? Some of the fairy wine. Take the edge off.
Yeah, but I don't. That's not how you get rid of your.
That's not promoting drinking. Some of your depressive tendencies.
No. Yeah, it's a joke. I mean, really, she's depressed.
Yes.
And she gets more and more depressed as it goes on. And Tamlin doesn't seem
to care or notice.
Yeah. I think he's so messed up in his own world that he doesn't recognize that she's struggling.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I was happy to get through the first book. Now, I'm not saying that we'll never love Tamlin again, but right now we hate Tamlin, correct? After these first 15 chapters, we hate Tamlin. So I'm happy that we don't have to, like, mask our feelings anymore. You know, like, oh, we love him. He's so great. And I'm not saying you won't
Tamlin sucks
ever
right
love him
now.
again. You might not. I'm not spoiling that, but at this moment, I think that we can all agree after 15 chapters of him being a tool and not listening to her, he kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But he does try to help by giving her paint, but he's also not realizing that that's not, like, what she needs is not to just sit in the house and paint. Like, she needs to go do things. So he's trying to help in his own way. But anyways. And we meet a new character.
Ianthe. Stupid name. Where does that come from? How do you come up with that?
I don't know. I'll have to Google the name. Would you like me to Google the name?
You can Google it later.
Okay. But she's a high priestess as well as a high fae noble. And she's a childhood friend of Tamlin's.
Yeah.
And basically she's there to help plan the wedding festivities. Mm-hmm. The interesting about her is she has a tattoo across her forehead.
Yes.
That is the stages of the moon's cycle, which is
odd.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't remember why I noted it, but it said the voice of the cauldron.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's just the weird them with that damn cauldron.
I mean, it's almost like they're God, in a sense.
It is.
But in the first book, I don't know if we talked about it, Feyre notes, like, I wish I remembered the names of the gods to, like, call out for.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Yeah, because then isn't there something about, like, someone cooking up something in the cauldron?
I don't know. Is there?
I don't remember. Anyway, it's weird that they have this cauldron that they worship.
Yes. I think you might learn more about it later.
I hope so.
And basically, she wants to learn how to fight so she can protect herself, which I would argue, in a very dangerous world, that this is probably a good plan. But they don't want her to because they think it sends the wrong message over, like, if peace is returned, why do you need to fight? But I think they've established that the world has these terrible creatures that want to kill everyone. So why would she not need to know how to fight?
Yeah.
I mean, really, they just want to keep her as this, like, ye little lady. But
Sit there and look pretty.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. They were like, oh, is your mortal kin going to be coming to the wedding? I would have never even thought they would invite them. I guess this is not a common occurrence that a human, whatever you want to call Pharaoh right now, / fairy gets married. But Ianthe's like, oh, we could protect them if they want to come. And she's kind of like, yeah, no. Right?
Yeah.
Basically, she doesn't want to tell them that she's
Faye.
Yeah.
She notes that she had been made. Mm-hmm. Because that's why she doesn't want them to. She doesn't want to see.
Yeah.
Them to see how she's weird now. Mm-hmm.
Your next note is about
The cauldron's gift of fertility. To lock
the.
up their instincts. Who's that?
It's about the high priestesses.
Oh.
They sleep around a lot.
Oh, right. That's right. My note there has been auto-corrected
I figured.
to slug. If you can guess what they slug around.
Well, yeah, basically they sleep around a lot.
And got a high body count.
And there's 7 high lords that rule Prythian from Thrones, but the 12 high priestesses they reign from their altars. And their children are as powerful and respected as any lord's offspring. So, Ianthe is the youngest high priestess in 3 centuries. She's not married and she doesn't have any children. So basically she just sleeps around a lot. So.
Yeah.
And Lucian doesn't like her because she often comes up to him and, like, touches him and, like, corners him at events and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Because she's a
Yes, we
promiscuous woman. I'll say that.
I mean, I think it's a little bold. Like, even as I don't know, because it's unwanted attention. It's technically sexual harassment.
It is.
So, if I were Lucian, I would get with my boss and tell him about it. But I think he just grins and bears it, basically, at this point. So, they note, because they're looking at dresses that they could get her gloves to cover up her tattoo for the wedding. And I think they end up getting gloves.
Eventually they do
Yes.
have gloves.
you highlighted a bunch of stuff about they had some relations.
He reveals there's no such thing as a high lady.
Yeah,
you stupid idiot.
Because she's like, what are they going to call me? I can't bear to think them calling me high lady. And he's like, yeah, no.
He's like, they're not going to call you that, you dum-dum.
Which is sexist. So what makes why can't there be a high lady? Because she has no powers, quote unquote?
I would assume because... Yeah. Well, no, that's not what I was going to say. I would assume it's because it has to do with the males.
I guess so.
I mean, it seems to be the shtick here.
Well, it's sexist.
Yeah. That's how things work. That's how a woman wrote this book, so...
But it is sexist.
It is, but that's how things go.
Okay.
I mean, that's how things go sometimes.
I know, but I'm just saying it's sexist. Well, you should agree that it is sexist.
Maybe Feyre is going to become high lady of everything. She'll be the first high lady of something.
You think so?
I think so.
Is that a prediction?
Yes. She's going to be the high lady of something.
Okay.
Or the high queen. She'll become the new high queen.
Yeah, you think ruler of all the lands?
Yeah, but she'll rule from the top of the mountain.
Okay.
Change things up.
Okay. Well, yeah, and she's got some PTSD and that she can't go back underground.
Exactly. She can't go back under.
Okay, so anything else from chapter 2?
Just she started in their relation time. She started talking about Lucian, and I think to ask about his mom. And Tamlin was saying, "I don't want to hear another male's name on your lips right now." Like some kind of weirdo. Okay. Anyway, you pointed that out to me when you were reading because you were ahead of me.
Okay.
So don't say okay when I highlight it.
Okay. So chapter 3. It starts with Lucian is going to take Feyre to the village. Basically to kind of throw her a bone, essentially. And she does have this moment, which we talked about it earlier, but he shakes the red hair from his face and she has to look away because she's like Amarantha's hair had been darker, but it basically shocks her. So
maybe Lucian should get a haircut then.
You think so? You think he has long? I guess he does have long hair.
He does have long hair. If he's got to get it out of his face, he should get a haircut.
Okay. But she
for his friend, because they are friends.
Well, I don't think she's admitted that to anyone.
Well, she should.
Because she also says, I have a long list in my head of what places I could and couldn't endure in the manor, ranked by precisely how much they made my body lock up and sweat. It's just kind of sad. I think she's like, I can't go to the kitchen. Her bedroom was okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, poor girl.
Well, as they're riding through the woods, there's no hint of the bog or the naga.
Yeah, so that makes me wonder why they're saying there's all these creatures when...
I guess there's just more out there, not in a particular...
Or are they lying?
Oh, they could be lying and just going out.
Well, they could be... Because I don't think they were going hunting. I think they were going to the village. So are they lying to her that it's still dangerous because they don't want her to leave?
It could be.
Anyways. Basically, Lucian's saying, cut him a break. So, you have no idea how hard it is for him to let you even off the estate's ground. He's under more pressure. And basically, shouldn't you just be happy to...
be marrying the handsome High Lord?
Yeah, and sitting there. So. And they have a tithe that's coming up in the spring court. Mm-hmm. And they have to...
Which is basically taxes.
Yes. Depending on their income and status. So they pay for... And it's how they pay for things like sentries and food and servants. Is that how you say it? Sentries? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and if they don't pay it, the high priestesses give Tamlin the rights to go basically hunt them down and kill them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I mean, as an anti-taxation. Like it's pretty much what the
For
U.S.
the
government
record,
will do.
for legal reasons, we do pay our taxes.
Well, of course.
Okay, but when you're like, I'm as an anti-taxer,
Yes.
I just want people to know,
No.
for the IRS that is listening to this right
Yeah,
now.
all 87,000. Anyway, I mean, it is basically what the government can do. They may not directly kill you, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't stop.
Okay.
It's never stopped them. What's my next thing?
Lucian's talking about how still kind of a break because I watched my...
Oh, yeah, he's talking about the female that he loved, and no one brought her back.
Yeah, so...
It's his dad or whomever executed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, cut him a break.
Yeah, because says Tamlin's going to do everything in his power to protect you from that danger again. Mm-hmm. So.
And she gets a new name.
Feyre Cursebreaker.
Yeah, and they basically, when she gets to the village, they are basically like, you're dead.
No, you've done enough.
Yeah, like, no, we don't want your help. Which, they go around, and then within 20 minutes, they're heading back to the manor. So, I feel like, if anything, it proved Lucian and Tamlin's point that they didn't need help in the village, even though she wanted to help.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he took her there.
Yeah. And she asks, like, where all these people have been, and they had camps that they were, like, working. They were locked in the camps in a network of tunnels beneath the mountain. And, like, they would forget to go feed them and all sorts of stuff. So, basically, no one escaped the horrors of Amarantha's reign. Except for the people that we know that did. But, so. And she's kind of like, oh, I didn't know about that. And Lucian's like, it was forbidden to speak of. And I'm like, everything was forbidden to speak of. Which... I love these books, so I'm not going to, like, nitpick it too much. But it seems a little bit like, oh, I forgot to mention where all these people were in the last book. Several of the things that happened, like, oh, well, we didn't celebrate it because of Amarantha, but this time we're celebrating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's been several in the first couple chapters, and it could be that that's how it was set up to be, like, you weren't supposed to know about all this stuff until you're supposed to know about it, but... Some of it seemed, it's a convenient way of being like, oh, well, yeah, I never talked about the people who could live in the Spring Court because we couldn't talk about it. So, and Feyre didn't ask about it. So, and I guess we're only seeing it through her eyes. She could be an unreliable narrator.
She could be.
So, anyways, chapter 4. It's basically like the day before their wedding, and she's like, I'm grateful that I'm not going to be a High Lady because I just got to make it through this party, and then I can hide away from everyone. So, but she does note a small forgotten part of me roared and screamed that she would never be a High Lady. So.
Yeah, and like you were saying, she's looking forward to the wedding, just knowing once that it was over, she wouldn't have to be pleasant or talk to anyone or do anything for a week, a month, or a year. So she just wants it to be done. We learn of Ninsar, a minor spring holiday, to celebrate the end of seeding the fields. And which apparently, I guess we didn't have that last time.
Probably not. Or it just didn't come up.
We meet Braun and Hart.
Yeah, and
Those are like Ianthe's friends or something.
They're Tamlin's. They compliment her on her hunting the worm.
Yeah, that's right.
And asked to go hunting with her, and she's like, he'll never let me out to do that, but okay, basically.
And she also says she had no interest in hunting anything again.
Which, because she's not... I think she only,
hunted for necessity.
Yes,
not for
like a lot of these
sport.
like, like, like Katniss, she hunted for necessity, but also, I guess she continued to hunt for necessity. But, like, I feel like there's other people who do this, and it's because they liked, like, it wasn't just, like, like, she's like, I'll never have to hunt again, basically, like, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So, she was good at it only because of survival, not because she, like, grew up doing it or whatever. So. Yeah. And they ask her, which is such a bold thing to ask the night before her wedding, but have you heard from Rhysand? And something, they were like, oh, he's probably running scared now that Tamlin's got his powers back. And she's like, well, then you don't know Rhysand very well at all. Which they don't know how to respond to that. So.
Mm-hmm. I think this is her saying something about she might cry for her mother to save her.
Yeah.
But anyway, go to yours.
She's basically saying in a few hours, I guess it's the next day, she's about to be married. And in a few hours, she'd be married. She'd have her happy ending, whether she deserved it or not. But the land and the people would also have their happy ending. And it would be like the first steps towards healing, towards peace. Then everything's would be fine. Then I'd be fine. So I feel like she thinks, oh, if I get married, everything's just gonna
magically get better.
Yeah. Which we all know that's not ever the case. But. And she hates her wedding gown. It sounds like a monstrosity.
Yeah, see, here I have a little theory. I think Ianthe wasn't really helping her out. I think Ianthe's got a little crush on Tamlin and would rather be the one getting married to him.
Or she's just, I don't think she's a girl's girl.
Or she just has terrible taste. I mean, she's got a forehead tattoo.
Well, I think that's part of her being a priestess.
I guess so.
But, like, she puts the red roses, and Feyre earlier has said no red. Like, she didn't care at all, but she just insisted on no red flowers.
That's true.
And then she still didn't. So, I don't think, while Feyre considers her a friend, I don't think she's necessarily out there with friendly intentions. I mean, she might be a friend, but I don't know if she's a girl's girl. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I'm imagining... What are you imagining for her wedding gown? Are you imagining anything?
Nothing in particular.
I'm imagining, like, full, like, 80s wedding gown. Puffy sleeves. The big... You know an 80s gown. So, that's what I'm imagining. But even Alice just kind of bites her tongue and hums to herself. Because she thinks it's ugly, too. So... And Alice notes that she sounds like she's going to her own funeral, basically, instead of being all happy about going to her wedding. We both noted that he loosened the grip on his glamour, letting that immortal light and beauty shine through for me, Tamlin, because she's walking down the aisle at this point. So does he always just have this, like, glamour on, even with the curse lifted?
I guess so.
Like, is it that, like, blinding?
Is he that blindingly beautiful?
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Yeah, and she notes, like we said earlier, that there's white rose petals, but then there's also red ones, which she equates to blood. Amongst the white, red petals had been sprayed across the path ahead. And basically she starts to have essentially a panic attack. Everyone's like, come on. Ianthe's like, come on, you can do it. Tamlin reaches a hand towards her, and she's in her head screaming, help me, help me, help me.
Help me.
I don't want to do this. I begged anyone, begged Lucian standing there in the front row, begged Ianthe. Save me, please save me, get me out in this. And then it took a while.
She takes a step back. The crowd starts murmuring, "Oh, she took a step back. She's not going to marry him." Blah, 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 blah.
And then darkness erupts. And Rhysand enters with the classic, "Hello, favorite darling."
Yep.
So.
Of course, he purred.
Yes.
Always got to purr.
Yes.
Can't just talk normally.
And that's the end of that chapter. So, I know this is not your first time reading this part of the book. And as a reminder for the people who are just now joining us, you read ACOTAR in like half of this book before you stopped. So there's very few predictions going on because you do know some of the stuff that's going to happen just to avoid spoilers. But once we hit that mark, then you're going to be predicting all over the place. But when you read this the first time, were you kind of expecting him to show up like this?
Probably.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. But I mean,
it's kind of like a classic.
Pretty obvious. It's pretty cliche,
Yeah.
I'd say. Like, of course, he's been sitting around 3 months to show up right before you're about to get married. But in his defense, she is, like, freaking out. And I guess they talk about this in the next chapter.
Yeah, that he was like, "Oh, you were saying
you
help
were
me."
asking help me,
Yeah.
so I came to help you.
So, chapter 5.
He's there to collect on his bargain.
Yes. And I note, Ianthe, what a coward. She just books it out of there.
She's out of there.
Because we didn't talk about it earlier, but she avoided going under the mountain by fleeing with her family. So she's a little bit of a, I mean, I guess she's every woman for herself kind of person. But she scurries out there because even Tamlin's like, "Well, we can still get married, like, before you take her." And Rhysand's like, "Well, your priestess is gone." So, yeah, so he's calling in his bargain. And he says, "Was I interrupting? I thought it was over. At least Feyre seemed to think so." And basically they winnow, right? You know about winnowing.
Yes.
But I always think it's like the disapparating from Harry Potter. They disapparate out of there. Over to the night court, which smells like jasmine. Smells lovely, I bet. And I think she's imagining dark, horrible things, and it's...
Because that's all she's been told, basically.
kind of peaceful.
Yep. And Rhysand hits her with the, "Welcome to the night court." Da, 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 da.
Like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining.
Which is kind of appropriate because she's like describes it as the most beautiful place she's ever seen. They're up on the mountains and there's like no windows.
And it's warm.
Well, I guess there's no window pane, so it's just open,
Yeah.
but it's warm and cozy, and they get into, like, she's pretty much just pissed. But he's like, "You were begging anyone to rescue you. So I think you should say thank you." And then take off that hideous dress. And basically it gets into like, "You're not a prisoner." Oh, and he's known about the puking. Right?
So he gets up with her puking. But not old Tamlin.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Tamlin.
Bum.
Yeah. And she's not a prisoner. She's she's a guest here with privileges of a member of his household. And no one's going to touch her, hurt her, or do anything basically to her. And the night court is underneath the mountain.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like on a house on top of the mountain.
Yeah. And then she throws her shoe at him.
Which is just so funny.
Because he's like walking away. And she rolls the shoe at his head.
And she manages to hit him, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Which I think takes him by surprise. And she picks up her other shoe, and he's like, "I dare you." And she throws it again. He manages to catch that one, and it
dissolves into glittering black dust.
Yeah. What a scary power to have.
Yeah.
And she
Luckily,
hears...
I think he provided other shoes for her.
Yes. She hears a female voice when she's like walking away, essentially. The female says, "So that went well." Who we learn later is more.
Yeah.
But
her bathtub is a pool hanging off the mountain.
This
so
is
it's
the
like one
type-
of those infinity pools, right?
I want that type of bathtub.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds lovely. And then I was going, is it just filled all the time with
I would
water?
assume.
Because then it's not a bath, it's a pool.
That's what she said. It was actually a pool.
Oh.
Hanging right off the mountain.
Yeah, but it's a bathtub.
I'm sure the water circulates and cleans.
I mean,
Magically.
I'm not thinking of the dirtiness. I'm just thinking.
We know they've got some sort of plumbing, so.
Yeah.
And magical heating.
Yes.
So.
And she gets her old handmaidens from under the mountain. Nuella and Saradwin. I can't say their names. And basically I think she goes to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then later she wakes up and there's a tug yanking against her mind. A summoning like some sort of servant's bell, which is funny.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when we get a big info dump. So they're eating breakfast, but she's learning about the courts. Essentially, they're one of 3 solar courts. And she's like, why isn't it just in eternal darkness? And he's like, we don't mess with nature. So
it's like, we can't control the sun, you dum-dum.
So basically their nights are beautiful, but it does...
They do have
daytime. And he notes that she's lost a lot of weight. And they talk about the bond that allows him to see in her head. Do you have anything to say about the bond? The bargain's bond?
He says that his innate talents allow him to slip through the mental shields of anyone he wishes. Mm-hmm. With or without that bridge, because they've got like a bridge between them. Mm-hmm. Unless they're very, very strong or have extensively trained to keep those shields tight. Mm-hmm. And he says that she could train.
Yeah, and then basically she learns that for the week that she's here, she's supposed to learn how to read. Mm-hmm. And that's it. So, and that's the end of the chapter. Okay, chapter 6. Rhysand asks her, the first note I have is him asking her, has anyone told you that you're rather strong for a high fae? So, Tamlin's not mentioned this, Lucian has not mentioned this, but basically he's saying because she was resurrected and reborn.
By all 7 of the High Lords. Mm-hmm. That she should be curious. Like, he would be curious if anything has transferred to her.
Yeah, because basically she's extra super, because she like curls the spoon or the fork into a ball, basically, and that's not common. So, and we meet Morgan, or Moore, his cousin.
Who's apparently very beautiful.
Yes. But opposite of him. While he's dark and he's got like violet eyes, she's blonde hair, light eyes.
Yeah.
But
she wasn't under the mountain.
Nope.
And then she doesn't say where she was.
Nope.
Rhysand stops her.
Yeah. And they eventually go to learn how to read.
Yeah. He gives her a note. And she sounds it out, blah, blah, blah. And says, you look absolutely delicious today, Feyre. And she's all mad about that.
Yes.
I'm like, that's what you wrote. I can't believe that's what you wrote.
And they work on
He's just being nice, giving her compliments.
And they work on the mental shields, which this is when it does kind of get into fourth one, because she builds a
like a brick wall
Essentially.
out of some
Yeah.
strong stone, which is different-ish than like the grounding or whatever the hell they called it, but
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. And he takes her up to some office, essentially. And there's a big map that has every city marked except for the Night Court cities. And he basically explains that,
War is coming.
yeah.
That's
I think the next chapter is when we learn about Highburn, right?
yes. So chapter 7. Mm-hmm.
You got it.
The king has been planning his campaign to reclaim the world south of the wall for over 100 years. Mm-hmm. Amarantha was like the first little part of that.
Yes.
She asks if Rhysand fought in the war. It says he was young by their standards.
So he's older than Tamlin.
Yes.
Because Tamlin was like, how old do you think I am?
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, I did fight in the war.
Yes.
So.
He seems like it was slightly a bit of, the kids in World War II that were 14 lying about their age to sign up.
Well, and what? So that makes him over 500?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty old.
It is. I mean, especially considering Feyre's, 19, 20 now?
Yeah.
Because I think she just had a birthday.
Yeah.
They talk about if the king makes his move to destroy Prithian, it'll be through stealth and trickery. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's where Amarantha was part of that. And they now have several untested High Lords and broken courts with High Priestesses angling for control. Similar to one Ianthe, who is lurking around.
Yeah. So basically he wants her to help convince Tamlin to work with them because they're obviously her and Tamlin are close, but Rhysand and Tamlin are not close.
Yes.
And she has a skill set that he needs.
Yes.
Which rumor has it you've caught a Suriel.
And she just responds, it wasn't that hard.
And he's like, I've failed and tried twice. So
and then he briefly talks about the matter of her powers.
Mm-hmm. And he brings up High Lady.
He does. And she, once again, is trying to correct these people, but there are no High Ladies.
And he says, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But there can be High Ladies.
He seems to indicate that there can be,
I think, by definition, I guess, I feel like, well, Rhysand's more progressive and Tamlin's more old school. Maybe
yes.
that's what it is. But he's wondering about her powers and if she were able to wield the power of 7 High Lords at once.
Mm-hmm.
So she might be able to shapeshift.
Freeze over an entire army.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So he's curious about her powers, whereas, of course, Tamlin didn't say a damn thing.
Nope. And then he leaves her kind of be to write lines, which are, I think they're funny.
They're funny. Rhysand is the most handsome High Lord. Rhysand is the most delightful High Lord. Rhysand is the most cunning High Lord.
Which are just funny.
Yes, he's a charmer.
Yes.
And talk about the Illyrian clans bowing to Amarantha during those years. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about winnowing.
Yes.
So it's like 2 different pieces on a cloth and you fold it together to the 2 spots align. Seems weird.
Yeah.
But I was imagining like like in Harry Potter.
Yeah. So basically, like, the farther you are, the longer it takes. But if you're going close, you don't even recognize it, basically. And that's kind of basically like the gist of her week. I think it comes to the end of her week, and he's like, you should say good morning to me. Because I think she's like, I want to go home. Take me home. It's been a week. And he's like, let's start with good morning.
So he keeps telling her that I am not your enemy. But she doesn't believe him and said, you're Tamlin's enemy. So you must be my enemy.
Yeah, but he does note that she looks better.
True.
So it only took a week for her to basically rest, essentially. Should say something about that she's able to get a good night's sleep there versus at
Tam's.
Yeah, so.
And then he sends her home.
Yeah, and Tamlin basically was a wreck all week. And kind of doesn't believe her. Yeah,
he's like frantically looking over her and making sure no one touched her, and she keeps saying, no one touched me, no one touched me.
Yeah, and he like trashed a study and trashed half the house.
Yeah.
Basically, seems like he went on a big like 2-year-old temper tantrum.
He's Kylo Ren.
What?
When Kylo Ren, I don't remember which movie it is, probably The Force Awakens, I think. One of the ones with that character, he goes and has a temper tantrum.
Oh, I don't remember
and
that.
Destroys
I have
the
seen
room
it,
that
but I
he's
don't
in.
remember it. Oh. Well, yeah, then that basically.
So then he's saying, there won't be a next time.
Yeah, he keeps saying that. Like, kind of empty.
Like, is it a threat? Is he going to kill Rhysand?
But she gets her hopes up every time.
Because she's stupid.
And she's like, oh, you found a way? And then he kind of just, I mean, as we've seen, he just kind of he knows he can't really do anything. So he just lets him take her. But, yeah.
And then Tamlin wants her to tell everything.
Yeah, they start, like, kissing. She wants to spend some time with him.
She wants to go have some intimate relations, but he's like, no, we must discuss now.
Yeah, and it kind of hurts her feelings.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't been apart that long before. And you want to go, like, press me for information. So they basically interrogate her. Yeah. I would say, that's how I would call it. Would you say it's an interrogation?
A little bit. She talks about how Rhys was interested in the powers he believed she possessed and Hybern's plans. And Tamlin kind of tried to dismiss the powers thing and basically say, like, if you have it, training will be too suspicious and the other High Lords will want to kill you to get it back.
Yeah, he's a little, like, he blows her off a little bit. Like, oh, yeah, because she's like, did you suspect? Like, did you know this? And I think he says, I hoped it wasn't true. So, yes, he suspected, and he just didn't tell her, which is a little back to their communication issue. So, but he does know that now that Rhys knows, there's no telling what he's going to do with that information. So they really hate each other.
Yeah.
Because Feyre, I think, is like, he's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, he wants me to train.
Fine.
Yeah. But basically, but Lucien does stick up for Feyre.
Yeah. It's like if we trained her in secret.
And Tamlin just shuts it down, basically. No. But I think Lucien tries to stick up for her several times throughout this thing. But I think he's stuck with, like, Tamlin's his oldest friend.
Yeah.
But then also, like, doing the right... Like, I feel like he has to see that she's struggling. So, like, he should do the right thing.
Yeah.
And, like, be like, dude, you can't... You're too blinded by your love. Yeah. You can't see it, but it's literally killing her. I do think he should speak up a little bit more. And I know he does, but do you think he should, like, have a man-to-man talk with him?
A little.
Yeah. So, okay. So the next chapter it is a week later and the tithe has arrived. So she notes that she basically spent the whole week alone, and she's just been throwing up and crying the whole week. So basically, I feel like she got better, and then she's back down, and everything's...
The pits of despair.
Yeah. Everything's terrible, so...
And then I think she was asking Ianthe to, what she should anticipate for the tithe. Just Tamlin would take care of everything and just sit there and watch. That's basically what she was told. Which is,
like, what type of that's not helpful at all, but...
Yeah.
And she's basically bored to tears.
After, 20 minutes. Which is fair.
But then it was 4 hours later. Can you imagine sitting there for 4 hours just observing? I mean, I will say, prime people watching. But she's not in the mental state to people watch. And I like people watching, but 4 hours seems a bit much.
Yeah.
So...
We learn about the water rates. Mm-hmm. They seem kind of odd looking. You didn't get a picture of one of them, did you?
No, but I can look it up later.
Okay. They seem kind of ugly, to be honest.
I feel like they look like, they say like serpent-like, right?
Maybe, I don't remember.
Yeah, inky hair. But basically, they have no fish left in the lake, so they can't pay their tithe. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of like, there's no fish. What do you want me to do? And he's kind of like, I don't care. You still have to pay.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, if we consider this as an income tax, basically, sort of an income-based tax, not that these people have traditional income, most of them, but you could argue that the fish are their income. And so typically if you have no income, you pay no income tax.
True. I think it points, I mean, obviously she wrote it just so we just hate Tamlin a little bit more at the moment. But Feyre puts out like a point like, why not help her rebuild her fish population before you start taking things that she doesn't even have? Like, how can you expect her to pay? Yeah. And he's like, oh, I don't expect her to pay just that. I expect her to pay double now, And I think it speaks to him as a... Maybe it's just like how it's how like tradition... I think he says, this is what my dad did. This is what my grandfather did. Like, this is tradition. This is how it always has been and how it always will be. And even how my son will do it. And I think you see from, like... as she's gone to the night court, and like there's a little bit of more of like a modern leadership versus like, give me your money or I'm going to kill you, essentially. Yeah. So
as with any tax man, there is not much compassion.
Yes. I mean this is true of any story, right? Robbing that's Robin Hood, robbing the rich to feed the poor, but you get what I'm saying, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, so, Robin Hood didn't even just steal from the rich, but
okay,
that's we don't need to get into that.
But basically, no exceptions, and because once he gives an exception, he has to do it for all, which I do see his point on that. But then also, his people have been apparently not even home. They've been in camps. Literal camps under the mountain. How are they? And he's like, I gave him 3 months. Like, shouldn't he give them... Like, I know he's like, we need to get back to normal. But don't you think he should give them more time? Like, a year?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, because they'd been in camps or whatever for 50 years.
Yeah, so they haven't had any, like, how are these people... Like, let's say your livelihood was crops.
Actually, no, they haven't been under there for 50 years. It was after the 49 years that everyone got pulled under the mountain, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. But still.
Somewhere between 3 months and 50.
What a wide time frame. Anyways, so she gets mad, basically. And runs after her.
Runs after the...
And it's like, how much does your fish cost? And the water wraith is like, oh, more than you have in your pocket, which...
That's presumptuous.
How much does a fish cost?
I don't know. Must be quite a lot.
Or maybe how much... I don't know. So she gives her all her jewelry.
Yes.
So she can go buy fish, pay what's owed, and have some left over to feed her family, basically. And the water... We never get her name. The water wraith basically is like, I will not forget this kindness, nor will any of my sisters. So.
But then old Tam is not happy with it.
No, he's mad.
Yeah, he's like, I gave those to you. And we have a house full of those. We don't need any more. We don't need them back.
Yeah.
They were yours.
So, this is when he's like, this is just how things are done, how everything is going to be done, basically. But throughout this whole argument, like, Lucian kind of takes her side. Mm-hmm. And then...
All of a sudden, she's seeing through Lucian's eyes.
Yes.
Slipped into his mind.
And he's sad. That's, like, the takeaway from him, which is kind of, not to use the same word, but sad that he's just kind of miserable. And...
Yeah.
But... And she storms out of there, but she also notes that she feels like she left 2 burned handprints on the table. So basically, her powers.
Basically, she has all of the powers.
Are coming out, and there's nothing that good old Tamlin can do to stop it. I don't think so. But Lucian does try, and even Feyre's like, "Come on, fight for me, like your friend, essentially." Mm-hmm. And he still can't quite do it. I think he's probably afraid of him. I would be afraid of him with all the claws and his temper tantrums.
True.
But okay, so chapter 9.
Said, I think
it's Alice.
Later. Oh, it's Alice
talking to
Feyre. He's saying like those jewels won't last the water wraith a week.
Yeah, they have insatiable appetite. So, but she's like, it was sweet, but you're a fool, basically.
Yes.
But.
And then Tamlin has a gift for her. Mm-hmm. She's really hoping it's not a crown.
Yeah, I wonder why.
She doesn't want to be High Lady, remember?
I guess so.
She barely wants to be Lady.
He wasn't going to make her a High Lady.
I know, but she barely wants to be Lady.
I guess so.
She didn't want to sit there next to him looking pretty.
True.
She doesn't want to do anything.
True.
So.
But he gives her a traveling
paint set.
Which
is sweet, but she has no interest in painting.
Yeah, I think he should recognize that she hasn't painted in 3 months.
Find her a new hobby.
Yeah, I think he's trying to push her back into like needlepoint. That probably is a thing.
It probably is.
He's only saying that because I've recently gotten into needlepoint. But I think it's a sweet gesture, but also I don't know, it's just not what she needs at the moment. It kind of tells you how, like, out of touch he is with her and, like, what's going on with her.
Yeah.
Honestly, but.
And she's all mad. Or upset, at least.
I would say she's upset.
Yeah.
Because she's like, will I be allowed to roam where I wish to paint, or will I have an escort? She's
tired of the guards around her all day.
Yeah. And she kind of tells him, like, I'm drowning. I'm struggling. You gotta do something. Mm-hmm. So some people say, like, oh, he doesn't even know how bad she has it, basically. But I would argue that she kind of says, like, I am struggling. I need help. Just let me do something other than sit around. And he, like, has this basically another big anger fit where he explodes because they're fighting over whether they should get married, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
whether she wants to marry him still, that kind of nonsense.
And his power blasts through the room.
Paint set destroyed.
Yeah.
Didn't last long.
Nope. windows shattered, furniture splintered. Basically, everything explodes.
Yes. I feel bad for the guy who has to come in and clean that up.
He's probably used to it at this point. He's probably an expert. So, and that's the end of the chapter.
Yes.
But chapter 10 opens back up in the same situation, and she's like made a
force field essentially around herself somehow.
Yeah. Yes.
Through one of her newly
through with
acquired
its
powers.
Wind. So which court do you think it is?
Wind? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Just take a guess.
Autumn?
Okay. We'll see if you're right.
Winter? No, that's ice. I don't know.
Yeah, like what's the singed handprints?
Summer. Is there summer?
Mm-hmm.
Summer?
Okay. We'll see.
I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, that's why it's a prediction. I'm not expecting you to know. It's just a guess. But he can't get in to her little force field, which is, I'm imagining like Violet, not from Fourth Wing, from The Incredibles. Mm-hmm. Or Mira. I think Mira does a little force field, and yeah, basically they kind of make up, I think, a little bit. But then the chapter switches to later, and it notes that she's been rising every day later and later, not getting out of bed until lunch. I mean, this is just, she's depressed. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to give him any leeway, I would say.
It's hard to cut him some slack.
It's hard to cut Lucian some slack a little bit.
That's true.
Because I think at this point, someone needs to stand up to Tamlin. And, like, I think Alice notices. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of all this, she's like, just take care, she's noticed, but she can't stand up to. She's not in the position to. So,
at
some part, Lucian should be standing up. So, but she wakes up and Rhysand is in the hallway. Basically like, let me see her, Mm-hmm. But when she comes out, he asks her, are you running out of food here? It should tell Tamlin or everyone how much weight she's probably lost in only a month. It's only been a month. Yeah. So, I liked, you highlighted it, but
Rhysand brushes an invisible fleck of dust off of Tamlin's sleeve, as he likes to do.
It's classic move. And if war, I think Rhysand says this, if war is coming, maybe we better off serve trying to mend things. Or maybe Feyre says that to Tamlin. Probably Feyre says that to Tamlin. Mm-hmm. But basically Tamlin's like, no, you can't take her. And then he kind of just, once again, gives up and gives in. So.
Yeah. And they talk about keeping the bargain, so that I think she's talking to Tamlin, that he'll attempt to listen to him.
Yeah, but at the end, before Rhysand takes her, Tamlin comes up and is like, end her bargain right here, right now, and I'll give you anything you want. Anything.
True.
Basically begging, which is a little pathetic at this point.
It is.
And Rhysand just says, I already have everything I want, and I think they leave. So.
Gone.
Yeah.
Chapter 11. Mm-hmm. Back in the Night Court.
Yes. And the first thing he's like, come eat breakfast with me. Which I think is sweet.
He's a charmer, as I said.
Well, she notes there's a note in these words that made me pause. A note of what I could have sworn was desperation, worry. So I think he's worried about her.
He is. She notices her clothes are loose. Mm-hmm. Again, highlighting how much weight she's lost.
I think he's asking her, like, is everything okay? Because
Yeah.
I had this blast of fear
Yes.
down the bond.
Which was the thing from the other night, because he's saying, like, normally she keeps the shields up and he doesn't get anything.
Trained her too well.
Yeah, I know. Very quickly, in the course of like a week. She's a master.
Yes.
So then old Rhysand is talking about, and he's trying to get her to work with him, and saying about how he was a
Have you
prisoner
thought
in,
about it?
yeah, he's a prisoner in Amaranthus court for nearly 50 years. And, you know, only telling himself who he was, what he had to protect, kept him from finding a way to end it. And so he wants wants her help to stop that from happening again. Basically talking about the king and trying to get her to help him and help Prithian. And she seems to be considering it, but she does have some reservations because Tamlin has made exceptions. I think she talks about, like, some of the guards have let up, or, like, they don't follow her so closely.
Yeah.
It's little things, but it's slightly something.
Yeah, I guess he did let up the guards because she had that big power fit. So yeah. She was like, it's not so bad. I can work with Tamlin. Basically she goes back to her reading and
We've got some more good ones. Rhysand is a spectacular person. Rhysand is the center of my world. Rhysand is the best lover a female can ever dream of.
What would you make me write if I had to write sentences?
All of those.
Okay. Yeah, but like your own.
I don't know.
Jeremy is the funniest person.
Jeremy is the smartest.
Okay. So I was about to call him Tamlin. Rhysand comes in and is trying to, like, give her some food, and he, like, pulls the plate back away, and this is when he's like, tell me what to do to help you. And, you know, this is when I think he's like, it's been months and you're still a ghost. Does no one there, like, ask what is happening? Like, does your High Lord simply not care?
I mean, he doesn't seem to care that much, at least.
I think he's ignoring it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or he's just stupid, but...
And then she feels an icy rage. It's almost... And she's got some ice at her fingertips.
Yes.
I would imagine that's coming from the Winter Court, High Lord.
Yes. So do you think he was trying to, like, make her mad to...
Probably.
See what her powers are?
Probably. Seems like something he'd do.
And then ice melted to flame. So that's...
You know, going back to The Incredibles, Jack, when he's getting his powers, you know, and he has all the different ones, and it's like, what does he have? That's what this is like. A
little, and I feel like that's what they're trying to avoid by training her, right? Because otherwise it's just going to be essentially a baby. I mean, she's essentially a newborn
high fae.
With all these powers that she doesn't know how to deal with.
Yeah.
So, and... Eventually, the week kind of passes. I guess this was at the end of the week, and not much. Tamlin, I keep calling him Tamlin. Rhysand is just gone for the whole week, essentially.
Yeah.
But he takes her back, and Tamlin's waiting for her, and...
He's all mad.
Yes. And she notes, like, I knew there'd be no solitary... Solitary rides or walks. The grounds. So basically it's going to pick back up.
And then, sure enough, sentries return in full force the next morning. So, and all those exceptions, gone.
Yeah.
Out of there.
So.
I think she's pretty fed up.
Yes. So, chapter 12, it's that first week back from the night court, and she was not allowed out of sight of the house. So basically, Tamlin... has just made it's just even worse. And Ianthe's back. And she notes, to keep me company, protect me, I don't know. I bet to spy.
Probably.
But Tamlin shows back up like 8 days later. And then he just goes into the study with Ianthe, and then she's not even allowed to hear it. So, I don't know, he's kind of treating her like a child. Like, no, you can't hear. I mean, if she's going to be his wife, you would expect that she should know some of what's happening in the other courts. But I think he's just trying to, like...
He wants her to just sit there and be pretty.
Yeah.
Not worry her little head about anything.
Yeah.
Just paint and not do anything, but that's not what she wants.
Yeah. And she's pissed. Rightfully so. And her nails start growing.
Into claws.
Into claws. Into talons. Not into talons of shadow, but into claws. So. But Lucian sees this. And he's like, there's only so much I can do, but I'll ask him tonight about the training. Basically, because the powers are going to come whether we train you or not. Yeah. So, I mean, I think he's trying, but it's just...
He's not trying very hard.
No, but I mean, in some regards, Tamlin outranks him.
Yeah, I think he should train her in secret.
Yes, that's what he should do.
Yeah.
But...
Then they're talking about how... I think it's Tamlin.
Oh, yeah, she's like over... She's listening in their conversation.
And he's saying that, like, the other High Lords probably just want to kill her. Or if they don't kill her, they probably want to take her and breed with her, essentially.
For her powers.
For her powers.
Yeah. So basically, no, she should not be trained.
Yeah.
Basically, I feel like his plan is like, no, she shouldn't train, and we'll just never let her out of sight.
Yes.
So no one can see that she has powers.
Which is stupid. You should train her because...
Then she can...
She could stop them because she has the powers of all of them. She could prevent them from taking her as a breeding slave.
Yes, but he's not seeing that. I don't understand why.
He's also stupid, I think.
I just think this is a world where everything is trying to kill everyone. So, like, why not? Why wouldn't you want to be your strongest?
That's a good question.
You know? But... Or if she was trained, she might be able to, like, put the powers down and not show them off, basically. Like, control them so that they wouldn't even know she had them.
Yeah.
But...
Then she gets all mad and saying, you promised that, you'd let me get out. You wouldn't be so overbearing.
Yeah.
And he says, have Braun take you and Ianthe on a ride. I don't want to go for a ride.
Yeah, like, I want to do something.
Yeah.
Like, let me go with you wherever they're going. You. And she's kind of gets in her head, like, oh, I can just follow them. I'll just go with them whether they want me to go or not.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you aren't. I guess she says that out loud. And he's like, no. And she tries to leave once he leaves, and she slams into an invisible wall. So he's locked her up in the manor.
Yes.
So she can't even go outside. And I don't know, because he knows she's still struggling, or he should know she's still struggling with Under the Mountain. She can't even go into certain rooms of the house because they don't have enough windows. And then he up and locks her in a house, which is basically her greatest fear, because she was locked under the mountain. And then he's like, no, you can't come with me. I'm just going to lock you up, basically.
Yeah, this is sort of the final straw for Tamlin.
So, do you think he can come back from this?
It's going to be tough.
Like, is there a redemption for him?
Oh, sure.
But, like...
It's not going to be easy.
Would you forgive him as the reader?
Probably not.
No?
I don't know. Unless he heroically saves her life and everyone else later on.
I think he's got a tough... He's made it very hard to be...
A likable character right now.
Yes.
Yes.
So. But she's locked in the house... And
she goes into a cocoon of darkness and fire and ice and wind.
She basically just freaks the hell out.
Yes.
Which I don't blame her.
And the fire melts the ring off her finger.
Yes.
The emerald tumbling away.
What a poetic end to their relationship, basically. But we hear Alice say, like, please just take care of her, you know. I think Alice probably knew she was struggling. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if, she's not going to stop her, obviously.
Yeah.
But, and Moore is there. And Moore's like, consider yourself very lucky that your High Lord was not here when we arrived. Your guards will have one hell of a headache when they wake up, but they're alive. So basically, she didn't kill anyone. Mm-hmm. And she snuck in, and she carries her out, and carries her somewhere, and then Feyre hears her say, like, I did everything by the book to someone, which we know who it is, but...
Yeah, so question, if she couldn't go out of the shield, how can Moore carry her?
Well, in chapter 13...
Oh, does it explain it?
It's either in this chapter 12 or chapter 13. Rhysand basically is like, I could break... Like, I'm powerful enough to break that shield, but I can't be the one who physically goes in there because then it's an act of war. Mm-hmm. So someone else has to go and take you. Which seems like it's still his court. But it must not be in direct conflict. It's some sort of loophole. So he could break the barrier, the spell. But then Moore carried her out. He could break it from a distance. Moore carried her out to the edge of wherever this property is, and then he could take her from there.
Yeah.
So chapter 13, she wakes up, and I think she's back at the Night Court, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I think Rhysand's sitting in the room with her, right?
I think so.
So sweet.
Yeah.
And
that's when he talks about by law and protocol. Mm-hmm. Things would have become very complicated and very messy if I had been the one to walk into that house and take you. Smashing that shield was fine. But Moore had to go in and get you.
And bring her over the border.
Yeah, or else Tamlin would have had free reign to march his forces into my land to reclaim you.
Yep. But he basically is like, you were screaming. Your shields were gone, basically.
Yeah.
You scared everybody in that house because they couldn't see you, and you were just this wall of craziness, basically. Except for Alice. I think Alice stood there and probably...
I mean, she is a tree.
Is she a tree? I need to look up... I'll look up a picture of Alice.
Tree bark-like skin, at least.
So, and this is when I feel like it's like the most heartbreaking line. I have nowhere else to go. Like, and he's like, well, you can just stay here.
Yeah.
Forever if you want. You know, you do you, basically. Mm-hmm. And... You know, he's like, I made you an offer when you first came here. Help me. And, like, food, shelter, clothing, everything you could want is yours. So basically work with me. It'll be fine. I think later on, he's like, if you don't want to work with me, we'll find you something else to do. Like, you can still stay. But, like, you don't have to go back. But the choice is yours. If you do want to go back, I'll take you right now. Mm-hmm. So.
She's adamant about not going back. At least not right now.
Yep. And they do note that later on in this conversation, if she inherited some of Tamlin's shape-shifting abilities, she might be able to make wings of her own. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want the claws. I guess the claws would be good to destroy your enemy, but... but I would want the wings.
Yeah.
But... So... He's like, I have business I gotta go to. So, you know, spend your time at the house, do whatever. And I think this is where, like, he realizes what Tamlin's done to her. Because she's like, take me with you. I just don't want to be alone. I don't want to be stuck in a house. And he doesn't question her. He just says, like, if you do, there's these rules that you basically have to follow, which is you can't ever tell anyone. Mm-hmm. So I think it speaks to Rhysand's character.
Yeah. Doesn't even make her sign an NDA.
No, but I feel like he would know who told, and he would go and kill her.
Deal with her.
Yeah, and he's kind of like, if you don't want to keep secrets from your Spring Court people, which, like, I get, then you shouldn't come with us. And she's like, no, I'll keep it. I won't tell anyone, basically. And where are we going? And this is another Jurassic Park entrance, but...
To Valaris, the city of starlight.
Dun, dun, dun. So, they... I was going to say apparate, but it's... winnowing there, and she doesn't want to look outside. They winnow to a new house, but she doesn't want to look outside because she's like, if it's a city, it's going to be in ruin, and I can't handle that right now.
Yeah.
But she notes that it's a home more than a house. It's like been lived in and enjoyed. And that's the end of part 1. So, which I don't remember what part 1 was called.
I don't remember either.
I think it was like the House of...
Something.
Well, obviously. I don't know. So now we're in part 2, the House of Wind. Now I could have ended our little chapter thing here, but we kept going for a little bit. Okay, so part 2, the House of Wind. And
he says, welcome to my home. Yeah. And it's like a townhouse, isn't it? Or something, which is odd. But he says no one except for him and Moore can winnow directly inside its house. It's warded, shielded, and then warded some more. Only those I wish, and you wish, may enter.
Yep. And this is when she learns about Valaris, and the walls have not been breached in 5,000 years.
It's impressive.
No one with ill intent enters the city unless he allows it. And so he's basically like, go where you want, do what you want, see who you want. Like, there's nothing that's going to, like, bother you. So she immediately has all this freedom that she didn't have at the Spring Court.
Yep.
So, and while this is happening, there's people outside banging on the door saying, like, let me in. So she runs and escapes. To rest.
Yeah.
Because he gives her that option.
Yeah.
To go upstairs and rest.
It's up to you whether you want to meet them now or head upstairs like a wise person.
And basically, because he's like, go change into city appropriate clothing while I beat the hell out of one of them for talking to his High Lord like that. And
Nuala and Ceridwen are there. And they tell her that the fellers there are Rhysand's inner circle.
Yes. And so she's still on this, like, it hasn't been breached in 5,000 years. So, like, Amarantha didn't touch it. And she asks them how. And
they talk about the High Lord is very powerful, and he was devoted to his people long before his father's mantle passed to him. So, how long has he been High Lord then?
I don't know. I have this question in the next section. I'll have to look it up. You may not Google.
I wasn't going
but
to.
But I can look it up. Long enough? I don't know.
Presumably he's not 5,000 years old.
No, because he was young in the war, and that was 500 years ago, right? Yeah. So, and his dad was still alive then, I think. Yeah. Well, we might not know that yet.
Well, true.
But, spoiler. But basically they say you have to ask him, because it's not our story to tell. So.
Yeah. And then she wonders if never returning to the Spring Court would be a fitting punishment for Tamlin.
Which,
yeah. Kind of.
Because he's going to go crazy. But honestly, within what she's known Rhysand very casually, I wouldn't even call them friends. Maybe an acquaintance. She spent 2 weeks with him out of the 3 months that they've been out, and he has helped her recover more than Tamlin did in the 3 months that he had with her. So
Yeah.
it's probably been at this point 5 months. So it's been almost 6 months, and Tamlin has done nothing but make it worse.
Yes.
So
He's a bum.
yeah.
Anyway, chapter 15.
Yes, the last one for this section. They go out.
Yeah, they go outside.
To look at the city, and she notes that no one is looking at them.
No one cares. They're not like, oh, the High Lord. Oh, that's the High Lord's house.
Or like the favorite curse breaker.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't care.
Probably don't even know about her, honestly.
I feel like they know. News has to travel, right? Do you think they have a newspaper?
I don't know. They might not even know that anything was going on.
I think they do, because in this they welcome him back.
I guess so.
But it's very casual. It's not like praise, praise, praise. It's like,
True.
oh, good to see you, man.
Yeah.
So.
She knows there's no monsters, no darkness. And it's just untouched.
Yep.
And then she's just like overwhelmed by all the sights, the sea, the mountains.
Yeah, and there's like a river running through it.
He points at the middle peak of the mountain, and that's his other home in the city, the House of Wind.
Yes.
So that's not the house that she's been at.
No.
So he has 3 houses.
He has a house above the court of under the mountain. What I don't know if they've named it yet. Have they said what it is? I don't think so. No, the Night Court.
Yes.
Then he has a townhouse in Valaris, and then he has that House of Wind. So 3
At least.
Right now.
And then...
So other cities are known to the world, but Valaris has remained a secret for...
millennia.
Yeah.
Thousands of years.
Yeah. So... And Amarantha didn't touch it because she didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
So no one knows that it exists.
It's impressive. But you figure none of the maps have anything in the Night Court marked on it, basically. I mean, including his own map.
Yeah.
That he had in the other house.
Well, that was probably just so she couldn't tell anything.
Well, true.
But, yeah, he notes that, like, spells and wards and my ruthless ancestors who are willing to do anything to preserve a piece of goodness in our wretched world. So, she has a bad attitude basically this entire walk around, which she is still dealing with what's happened to her. So you can kind of, because she's kind of just mad. She's like, I don't know why you didn't open this as a refuge. And, like, she's mad at the people, that they're all happy. And I think it says to how depressed she is at the moment. Because she's not excited. And, I mean, I probably wouldn't be either. I guess I might be a little bitter. That all these people basically just lived while everyone else suffered. But...
Yeah, he basically says, I had to make some hard choices very quickly. So basically, I saved my own people.
Yes.
And let all the other beasts. I didn't want all those other beasts coming in here.
Well, because...
Screwing up the joint.
Well, then Amarantha would know about it.
True.
So that the 5,000 years of mystery would be...
I don't know how you'd live down that when you're the one who breaks the streak of the city that no one's known about for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be embarrassing for him, to say the least.
Yeah. But basically, they're just walking around the city.
Yeah, going to all the different shops, Palace of Thread and Jewels. They had clothes, shoes, supplies, and jewelry, obviously. Palace of Bone and Salt. And Palace of Hoof and Leaf. So.
Doesn't he go shopping?
I think he does, and she waits outside or something.
Yeah, like in a jewelry store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then they make it to... Yeah, they're all welcoming him back. And then they make it to the artist quarter. And they call it the Rainbow of Valaris. And this is when she's like her most angry.
Yeah, she wants to scream at them, throw rocks at them, break their windows, unleash her power. Because, bad things had been done to her and they were just there, possibly none the wiser or just without a care in the world, basically, living their happy lives.
So, and he kind of tells her, like, my people are not to be blamed. Like, calm down.
It's not their fault.
Yeah. So, she learns, this is kind of another info dump because we're in a new city, but she learns about Cassian, Azrael, and Amryn. Amryn is his second in command, and she's surprised because it's a female.
Yes.
And then he's like, oh, but wait, Moore is my third.
Yeah.
So both of his essentially backups, seems like a weird word to use, but are both females. And Amryn looks high fae, but something different prowls beneath her skin.
And she might be older than this city.
Yeah.
So more than 5,000 years old, at least.
Yeah.
Which is...
wild.
Yes. Seems creepy.
But she's vain and likes to hoard her baubles and belongings like a fire drake in a cave. So. And
then he talks about he's the most powerful High Lord in Prithian's history. And merely interrupting Amryn is something I've only done once in the past century. So basically, even he, the most powerful High Lord, doesn't screw with her.
Yeah, because she's that much more...
yeah.
essentially scary than he is.
Yes.
So.
Which also on that note, how convenient that he's the most powerful, right?
Why is that convenient?
I don't know. It just seems like, oh, of course you are. It wasn't some guy 400 years ago. It's the super handsome feller right now when Feyre happens to be there.
I guess so. How convenient.
I mean, it's a book, so of course, but it wouldn't be as good of a book if he was just some mediocre High Lord like Tamlin.
Yes. But, I mean, basically she's just sad. She's like, oh, maybe it'd be a mercy to be ended by Amryn. And he gets mad. And is like, don't say that. Like, don't think that. And then she gets in his brain. And she notices how bad, basically, she looks. But then he's like, wait, how did you do that? So, and they're called...
Daemati. Those of us who can walk into another person's mind. If we were going from one room to another, back to the fourth wing. She talks about her mind basically being a room or a place that you are. I'm not saying it's a ripoff. There's just similarities.
Yes. And they're very rare.
Yes, but you never really know who could be one. So get them shields up.
Yep. And basically just be careful because they can do whatever they want. But
then
they're going to dinner.
Yep, they're going to dinner.
With I guess this is when he was introducing Azrael, Cassian, and Amryn. But they're going to dinner at the House of Wind.
Yep.
And you
can't winnow inside.
Yes. So they're going to have to fly.
Up the mountain.
Or they can walk up 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of steps.
That's a lot of steps. I think I'd just fly.
Yeah.
And she's worried it's going to rip her gown off or mess up her hair. And he says, I won't let that happen, basically. He talks about...
But he grins when she's like, my gown will be ripped off.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's a charmer. He talks about how he used to sneak out of the House of Wind by jumping out of his window and flying around all night. Like his dad didn't know. Is that in this chapter?
Yes, but his mom...
Because his mom is Illyrian, who are the people...
Well, I don't know if we know that. Go ahead and say it and we can cut it.
Anyway, he talks about his dad didn't know. but his mom, who was Illyrian, would catch him and somehow just join him.
And go and fly with him.
Yes.
So,
Sweet mom.
yeah.
Was he a mama's boy?
Guess so.
I think we learn more about him later, don't we?
Yes, I think.
But anyway, they fly on up there. She's hanging on tight, whooshing up there. They get up there, and then the two winged males from earlier just standing in the doorway.
Yeah. Grinning.
Smiling. And that's the chapter.
That's the end of the section. So what do you think?
It's getting pretty good. We can now say we hate Tamlin.
Finally. Now, he might come back.
We might.
But right now.
But for right now, we hate Tamlin. And Lucian, he's kind of like on thin ice a little. It's like he could have done more.
He tried.
He's between a rock and a hard place. I get it.
Yes. He wasn't a true friend.
No. But
Well,
anyway, it's starting to pick up for sure.
Yeah, do you have any... I know... So, a reminder that... I don't know if I've said it in this episode. You have read through some of this book. So, no spoilers.
Yes.
But do you have any predictions that are not spoilers that you already remember? Because you haven't read the end of the book. So, you don't know really what's going to happen.
No, I think he's going to train her. And I think the king's going to come into play. Something's going to go down. Tamlin, I think, is going to cause some ruckus at some point.
Yeah, you don't think that's the last we've seen of him?
No. He's got to come back, right?
I don't know, you tell me.
It seems a little lame to just be like, that's it for this book. Gone. Done. So.
No other predictions?
No.
I think you'll get more once you've passed the point that you know.
Yeah,
So.
I'm also trying to I don't remember what I know, but I know some things. But I don't know all the context.
Yeah, I think it'll be easier once you actually don't remember anything anymore. So. Okay, so next week we're reading chapters 16 through 31. And yeah, I think that's it for us. Yep. Thanks for listening. Share with your friends and family.
Subscribe, hit the notification bell.
Yeah. And if you need a reader's guide for all of these books, check out the link in the description. And I think that's it. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.